What's up everybody, I'm the Mangoose, you are awesome, and yes, that is going to be my new generic intro. Today I'm bringing you a compilation of the series Tech Time that I used to do on For the Minions. Specifically, a series of episodes where Ruba from Omega Studios taught me how to use blueprints to make Yin move the way she did in Paragon. I have two goals here. One is to provide a jumping off point for anyone who is interested in playing around with the Paragon assets in the Unreal Engine. The second goal is to explain why it's taking so long for these companies to bring Paragon back. While it's actually somewhat easy to import the assets and play around with them, getting them to function the way they did in Paragon is a monumental task. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm not even featuring the real hardcore programming, just blueprints. Then you have games like Phoenix Rising Ethereal and Project Stamina who have to design, create, and rig their characters before they can even begin this process. Now I know I'm once again white knighting for these companies, but damn it, they're pouring their hearts and souls into bringing something back that I poured my heart and soul into years ago, so I'll gladly lower my lance if I think it's needed. This video is very long and dry, and I imagine most of you won't be able to watch the whole thing, and that should put into perspective what the folks in the studios devote their free time to. Hello everyone and welcome back to Tech Time. To mess around with the Paragon assets, you first need to download the Unreal Engine. Open up the Epic Launcher, go to the Unreal Engine, and install from the top right. I already have it installed, but you'll be asked if you're using it for business or personal or education or something like that. Just let them know that you're using it just to muck around. Once you launch the engine, you'll have to create a new project. There are several options available here, but we're going to pick a third-person project to simulate Paragon. And there we have our third-person project. You can name it whatever you want. We don't have any Paragon assets for this though, so we need to go back into the launcher. Go to the Marketplace tab and type Paragon into the search bar. This will bring up all the Paragon assets. I have most of these already, but I don't have Yin, so let's go ahead and buy her. She's free, so you just need to check out and you have her. To add her into the project, we need to go to the Library tab, find Yin, click on Add to Project, and select our third-person project. Now she'll download into the project. Once that's done, head back to the engine, go to Content, click on the folder marked Paragon Yin, open Characters, then Heroes, Yin, and now we have some options to add to the project. I'm going to add the Yin player character. Wait for the shaders to load. Now we have Yin as an actor in our project, but I want to be able to control her instead of this mannequin. I've got this Yin kind of moving around a little bit, but she has no animations, but that's why I've got Ruba at my back. That's right, we got Ruba back for this week, and he's going to tell me what I did wrong last week, and then show me how to apply some animations to Yin, so it looks like she's running instead of just sliding around in a weird pose. So Ruba, take it away, my man.
Hi Mongoose, thanks for having me back. Where are we going to start? So, I suppose the first thing we should probably do, if you're interested in like getting into Unreal and kind of like getting first steps, first thing we have to probably do is set some basic up. So if you want to hit Escape Mongoose, and then go up to Settings at the top, the button just down in the middle. There we go, and go to Project Settings.
Okay, that opened up in a different window, so I'm going to pull that over.
Excellent. Okay, so so if you look on the left, you have a Maps and Modes button, just underneath Gameplay Tags. It's fourth one down underneath Project. Up. Maps and Modes. There we go.
Okay.
Click that. Yeah, click it. Okay, so this pops up like these are all like the base settings for the game that you're running. If you just to the right of your mouse, you see selected game mode and there's an arrow drop down.
So, right here.
Just to the left where it says selected game mode. That one and then down one.
Yep.
There you go. Click that. So all these things here are like the what they call boilerplate. So they're like the key pieces for when you're setting up an Unreal project. So your pawn class, so pawns are like they're just like they're like anything in Unreal Engine that can move around and has movements. HUD is like your UI. The controller controls all your inputs. the one that we're interested in is the default pawn class. So if you can click that, and by default it's using the third-person character, which is like the dummy one that comes with the Unreal Engine third-person project. We are gonna choose a Yin player character, which is
right
the
there.
very bottom one. Yep, do that one. I think everything else will work fine for what we're gonna do. So you can, if you go up to the top where it says project settings and close the window, top left, you need to hit a little X. There we go. So what we've now done, if you double click in the browser window at the bottom, the last one that says Yin player character, the blue one. Oh, the window's actually in the middle above Yin. It just went really small. If you click the middle button, it'll okay.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, so we're in. So the Yin player character is known as an actor, which is anything in the Unreal Engine's an actor. So a player, a minion, a tower, anything like that is considered an actor. And in particular, Yin this player character in just now is a particular type of actor known as a player character, as you can tell by the name, Yin player character. So up left, it's kind of hard to see. There's like a bunch of components. So what you can do is you can attach things to your player character. So the capsule component is like the thing that the mesh or the area that Yin exists in the world. So that's used for things like when you hit hits or not. The arrow component we can ignore for just now. The mesh is where we want to go though. So we click on mesh, and then double click. There we go. So so this is your mesh, and by default you can see like the arrows. So that's you can see how Yin's pointing. You can see her whip. The box that's around the whip is known as a collision component. So what that does is when you hit with Yin's whip, anything that gets hit by that box is considered hit. So Unreal uses that box for hitting stuff.
Okay.
This is like the default part. So this isn't the one that you used. You copied in the mummy Yin.
Yeah.
Yeah, mummy. So this is like the basic. This is like the basic controller where it kind of handles the camera. So you can see that blue box on the left. That's your player controller. If you hold right click, you can kind of drag around as well and move around inside that window and see everything. So you've got your camera there. Look at this. You've got your camera controller, so that's the camera there. So when you play in the world, this is kind of all the parts that you've got set up. The first thing that is actually already set up. So the player character that we're using needs something known as an animation blueprint. And the animation blueprint, we've talked about that in Tech Time a couple of times. That's where you control all the animations and how one animation blends into another and so on. By default, if you're using the player controller and the animation blueprint that come with the assets from the marketplace, so the epic ones, they're not bad to get started off. Like you can build them completely from scratch. But like a lot of the logic and stuff's in there already. So on the left, where you see, the other left, the right, where it says animation. So you've got that list of details, animation. So you'll use animation blueprint. You won't use the other one.
Okay.
And then the other ones for like if you want to do like a single animation. So I don't know, you've got like a tree that's blowing in the wind. That you just have one animation before you use that. The animation blueprint has logic in it that lets us move around stuff. And then if you go to anim class and animation blueprint, you can see that we've already got the default epic one set there. So the Yin animation blueprint. They're all like the dummy ones that come with it. But yeah, so she's already set up. If you want to change the skin or the mesh just below where you are just now, how it's set to Yin, you can do that and click on that. I believe if you choose anyone other than I was going to say mummy, but the crypt goddess. If you choose any other one, that is going to load up all your shaders again. So you can either stick with this one or you can switch to your crypt goddess.
Let's just switch to crypt goddess so we're not loading up shaders all day.
Perfect. So that's already set up. So every time you open up a skin, like it loads up all the shaders, which are like all the textures and all the lighting and all that. So we are good. So the last thing we have to do, because we've made changes to this, is up the top left where it says compile. If you hover over that, it'll tell you that you're udged up. I'll tell you that your blueprint's dirty.
Ooh.
Which
Dirty
means,
yin.
which just means you've made changes, and we have to basically say save these changes, but not save. So hit compile and then save. That will kind of commit all the changes that you made. Hit save, and then you can close that window the same way you did the last one. Okay, no, now we're still in T-pose. Now, if you on the right, where it says world outliner, so these are all the elements that are in your world. So you've got stuff like you've got what have we got? Where it says third person on the ground, that's a text box, which is somewhere in the list. You've got the cubes, you've got all your bits and pieces, but we do have one, and it'll probably be in the list, and it'll be called third person something something. There we go, third person character. So you can click that and then delete it. We can kill it. We don't need it. You 3 above, where you just deleted, there's one called Network Player Start. What that does is I don't know if you can see it, but it should be in the map somewhere. It'll look like a little flag. That's where we basically tell, there it is. That's where Unreal will say, start here when you spawn. So in Paragon, that would be on the fountain pads. If you're playing like any other sort of game, this is where I want to spawn. So now, if you hit play at the top.
Hey. Oh, and she does her intro animation too. Nice.
She does. Now, her whip looks a bit weird, but if you left click, you should have an attack montage. So if you keep left clicking, you'll find that there we go.
Oh, nice. Oh, Yen's back. Look at her.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's no sound effects. The only sound effects that come with the Paragon assets are the horrendous, well, mostly horrendous voice acting. There's no abilities. There's nothing else up. I think you can jump. Oh, yeah, you go. You can jump. And you can also move left and right. So some of the animations are hooked up, but not all of the animations are hooked up. And what you've probably noticed as well is that the camera's weird.
A little bit, yeah.
So you'll find that if you actually move towards yourself, you can actually run towards the camera. Yeah, see. And that's not the way that Paragon's set up. So what we'll quickly do is we'll fix that. And we'll fix something else, and that should be almost like everything it should feel kind of like Paragon, so you can run around, the camera will be locked in the same way. So, if you hit escape, and then double click on where it says Yin player character, down the bottom in the blueprint. Now, if you zoom out, I'll quickly talk about what this is. We're not going to actually do anything in here. So this is the event graph. Which is where you store all the logic for the character, and by default, this logic works with a third-person template. So if you're doing this yourself, if you use the third-person template in Unreal Engine, all this stuff will kind of hook in. So you've got movement input. There's a box there, so that's like when I press W, move forward. When I press D, move right, and so on. Down the bottom, you've got your combos. So this is like all your like where you hook up all the logic for your character if you're going to do it in blueprints. What we're going to do is we need to fix some of her stuff. So on the left, where the components are, if you scroll down, there's a component that's just hiding below our list. That's the one. So this is the character movement arm or character movement component. This is another this is another component that's introduced in Unreal, and this is how you control character movement. If you click on it, you then have on the right there, you have a ton of settings that you can set for your particular character. So you've got jumping, falling. Your jump Z velocity is how fast you jump. So like the speed of your jump. So you can turn that up and jump really high. You've got the level of air control. So if you want to have a character where you can kind of move in the air and glide, you can control that. You've got boosts. And you can scroll all the way down. There's like tons and tons and tons of settings here that you can play about with. And this is a good place if you want to get like speed. Further down, you've got like gravity, acceleration, braking. Mass is used to you can increase the mass of certain things like boulders, so they appear heavier. Ground frictions there as well. Max walk speed is a useful one as well under walking. That lets you set your speed. Paragon used various different movement speeds. At the end of Monolith, I think most heroes use between 650 and 720. So if you want to play about, you can do that. So I think that if you keep scrolling down, there's a setting in here that I just want to double check. Okay, so that one there that says orientate rotation 2. It's in character movement rotation settings. That one there, 2 down. That's the one there. So this is one of the settings. So that's orientate rotation to controller yaw, I believe. If you turn that one off, and then if you go back to the left and go to component, we're going to go up to the very top, and then click on Yin player character, and then up the top where it says search on the right, if you click on search and type in yaw, Y-A-W, there we go. That says use controller rotation yaw. We're going to put a tick in that. And then we're going to do our compile and save. And then you can close that window and then hit play. And we'll see if I remember how to do that right, because it's been a while. So now if you click in, and then you can move around.
Okay, yeah, so she doesn't turn backwards towards the camera anymore.
You know, and you'll find that when you look up and look down.
Oh yeah, I set her jump pretty high there.
So if you look down towards the ground, you'll probably see she does something weird. No, she's okay. She's okay. The aim offset. So one of the things you might notice as well is
she doesn't do side to side motion anymore though.
So, well, she technically didn't do it before. What she was actually doing was she was always running forward. And this is part of the problem that happens with the Paragon animation assets, is that they don't include side-to-side animations. But if you're okay with that, I think that's probably a good point to stop. That we've got camera set up, we've got the character going, we have some attack animations, and then if you want, in the next episode, we can go over how you start getting her movement animations looking right. Oh, welcome back, Mongoose. I am very excited. We're gonna get some better animations done. So, last week we covered the player character, which is one of the blueprints covered or included in the Unreal assets. I was going to say Unreal and Epic at the same time. The Epic Unreal assets for Paragon heroes. So the new thing that we're going to use this week, that we didn't cover last week, is the animation blueprint, which is another kind of piece of work. What's the best way of explaining this? So the best way to think about a lot of features that Unreal Engine does is it gives you lots of, it's called boilerplate, but it's like basic things like how players move, how characters move, how animations work. They're like pre-built recipes. Like what's the best analogy? It's like if you're a cook, and you can make something like a bechamel sauce or like a white sauce with like flour, milk, and butter. You can, once you have that recipe built in, you can then use it for all sorts of different recipes. So if you want to make lasagna or macaroni cheese or anything like that, you can use those kind of pre-built recipes to pull it all together. So we're going to go and we're going to jump into the animation blueprint, which is one of the other kind of set pieces. So if you want to hit escape Mongoose, and then down the bottom in the browser window, you should see the orange one, which is the Yin Anim blueprint.
Got it.
And if you double click on that bad boy, we should get a nice empty window. Okay, so when you first come in here, it can look a bit daunting and a bit weird. There's kind of three main parts that we can play about with when we're doing the animation blueprint. And one thing you'll notice as well, if you hover over the little window up the top left and zoom in, you'll see that Yin's default skin comes in. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't impact what you're doing. If you've selected a different skin in the engine and the character, it'll go back to that. So don't worry. But that lets you kind of see and preview the animations. So the things that we're kind of going to be interested in and talking about this week. So the first thing is on the left, you have just below that image, you have two graphs. One is called the event graph, and one is called the anim graph. We're going to go into the event graph very, very briefly, just to give you a quick look of what happens in there. So if you want to double click on that, Mongoose, it should then switch to the event graph. Okay, so this is the default Epic animation event graph. And if you're interested in like learning more about this anim graph, this event graph is very basic. And a lot of all the secrets like orientation warping, speed warping, distance curve matching, a lot of that like fancy tech that Epic used to drive the animation in Paragon is not here. This is like bare bones, like all you basically need to get things running in the engine. So if you zoom in on some of the boxes, Mongoose, so the ones at the top, the handle is kind of set up. You've got then a bunch of these like boxes. So the first one is that one covers attacking. If you go down and you can right click and move around. There we go. So you've got one there that tells you if you're in the air. So that's kind of used for the jumping animations. You've got something there for setting the speed and so on. So these are like all the logic that drives the animation. So there's no animation in here. But you've got like what's your roll, pitch, yaw, what's the yaw depth. This is used for leans. So when you kind of lean into moves as you're running, this basically calculates what your lean is, tells you if you're accelerating. Set as full body is used for certain animations. So some animations are the full body, like when Yin does her whiplash, whatever it is, the Q when she would target. That's a full body animation. But some animations are what's considered upper body. So it's so that you can do things like run and attack at the same time. You don't have the two animations. And then before that one's used for animations. So this is like all the logic, and you use this to drive your animation. So the actual animation itself is controlled on the left, and the other graph called the anim graph. Okay, so this is actually good. This is probably one of the reasons that I recommend that if you want to dive into this, you want to use the Paragon stuff. This is the anim graph, and what it does is it basically builds up all the animation using like logic and gates. Down the bottom right, where you see the little man running on the anim graph, yep, that's your final animation pose. So this is what you see in game, and everything that follows from the chain above, even though like the boxes that you've got there, Mongoose, they're like broken up into sections. They actually feed into each other. So the last little box there with a little man on it, the one above it, you see in the box above, you've got the one at the very end. It's just a little pose that then gets carried on to the next box. So that saves and then kind of passes on. So these are all the layers that build up the animation. The one that we're going to dive into is at the very, very top left, and it should be called the ground locomotion. So you see there we have ground locomotion. This is what's known as a state machine, where we can control the animations we go into. So if you double click and go into ground locomotion, these are the animations and how they're driving. And what these are called states. So when you're moving your character around, think of this like logic as it flows through. So you start off in idle, and if you double click on the idle button, this shows you the animation. So that little play idle combat is your idle animation. Like, simple as that. This is the one that you play. If you go over to the right hand side of the screen where it says asset browser, up and to the right a bit, up and to the right, up and to the right.
Right there.
There we go. Okay, so this now shows you all the animation assets that you've got. There's two types. We'll not cover the two types this week, but just know that you have normal animations, which are the green ones, and the blue animations, which are called animation montages, which are like ways that you can kind of capture chunks of animation and put them into abilities and stuff. So, for example, if you click on Play Idle Combat on the left, just give it a little left click. Yep. Hit delete. Ooh. Okay. And then you click Compile up the top left. You'll see. Oh,
she's just done the T-pose again.
She's gone back to T-pose. And that's all, folks. That's tech time. No. That's basically what happened last week, Mongoose, when you had your T-pose yin. So she didn't have an animation driving her. So at the moment, our yin's stood still, doing nothing. If you go and let's I'll give you a choice. You can pick Mongoose. You can pick any of the green animations on the right there. You go fill your boots. Oh, these are cool, man. You haven't even seen half of these. Right. Oh, that's cool. Okay,
I
so
should have double clicked on it, huh?
that's fine. I was actually going to say, if you want to double click, you can go into it and you can kind of get a good looking feel for it, and you can see her doing her seductive hand, and what's this called? Wanna play? Interesting. Okay. But yeah, you can do that, and if you close the animation at the top, so that's the oh yeah, that's the one. If you want to put that in, you can just pick any of the ones on the right, drag it into the left, and drag it in the free space. There you go. That's going to drop it in. There we go. You can move it to the side a little bit so it's out of the way. And then to rig this animation in, all you have to do is then just drag the two little men together. So if you drag from the animation, click on the little man, there you go, drag it in there. There we go. Hit compile. There we go.
I did a thing.
You did a thing, Mongoose. So you have replaced the idle animation with that emote. So now if you were playing your stood still, all that Yin is going to do is she's just going to stand there and just do that with whatever it was.
Oh, right on.
So that's how this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to go fix her side-to-side motion and get that down. So I'd probably say you can leave that idle animation in if you want, or if you want to, you can fix it. It's your choice.
No, we'll just leave it in.
There we go. Okay, nice. So next thing, and this can get a bit confusing to move around. If you go up to the top where it says Yin Animation Blueprint, Anim Graph, Ground Locomotion, you click on the button that says Ground Locomotion. Yep, and that'll take us back up a level. Okay, so our entry point is we start and we're idle. This is like your where do I begin? Imagine this is like a maze. That's the first point we're going to go. So we're going to go into idle, and there's two different places that we can go as we start moving around. So the first one is you see there's an arrow that moves from idle to jog start. Okay. And that's known as a conduit, and that's basically go from this type of animation to this one. And if you see the little button in the middle of the line, the one that's got the two arrows back and forth, this is your transition rule. So what this says is this is basically, if this stuff happens, go from idle to jog start. So for this one, it's just saying if your speed is greater than 0, so you're not stationary, and you're not in the air, so you're not jumping, and you are not accelerating, you can go, wait, not accelerating. Oh no, sorry, I can't read. I went there. It says double click it and you can go into it. It says not in the air and is accelerating. So this is the logic that kind of controls when we go from idle into to the jog start. And the jog start is the animation where it's like you start moving. You're not running yet, but you're kind of like, it's when you put your weight into your move and you start moving. And what this will say is, so if our speed, which is as a variable, so that's a float number that we have on our character. So that basically says how fast am I going. If that's greater than 0, then it means we're moving. So if that's happening, and then we're not in the air, so you see where it says as in air, that is something that another variable. This time the red ones are known as booleans. So that's like true or false. So if we're not in the air and we're accelerating and our speed's greater than 0, we can go from idle into jog start. That's all this does. And for example, if you wanted one where you're in the air, you'd have am I in the air and not moving, and then it would just do the jump. Stuff like that.
Okay.
So this is kind of your logic. So if we go back to ground locomotion and go into jog start this time.
Double click on it, or
double click on it. Yep. Okay, so here is where the problems start. So this is the kind of the run, and the problem we have here is that it's going to play jog forward start regardless of the direction we're going in. So there's nothing actually here in terms of the logic that says if you're going left, play left. If you go to the right, the asset browser where all the animations are, and then filter, if you type start, I think that's the best way to do it, start. Here we go. This will give you all of your like different animations. So if you double click and jog forward start, okay, so you see that that's Yin when she kicks her feet off and move forward. So you can kind of see where it loops, where she kind of pushes forward. If you close that and then go into the, I don't know, pick a different one, like jog backward start or left start or right start, you'll see now, like, those are the different animations that we've got. So they're the different parts. What we have to do is we have to be able to tell the game, this is the way I'm going and this is the direction I'm moving. Now, I don't know if it comes in Yin. It comes in some of the assets. Can you get rid of where it says star on the right and instead just type in jog? And then scroll down. I think I see it. Please, 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 please. Oh, keep going. Oh, epic.
Should I have picked a different hero?
No, it's fine. We can fix it. It's just going to be a bit more work. Basically, I'll explain what these are anyway. So if you double click on jog forward slope plane, I'm going to very quickly explain what these are before we build it. So yeah, double click on it. Okay. And I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but there should be below that box, there should be a panel. You might have to make that window smaller so we can see it. That's probably a bit too small. There we go. Oop, oop. It's hiding right in the middle of your screen.
Oh,
it's right in the middle of your screen.
How did that happen?
If you do that, and then if you hover over the bottom of that window and like on the edge of the window.
Let me try to expand it this way.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I see what's happening.
And you might have to make the animation window, that black bar at the bottom. If you hover over the up a little bit. No, actually, the one between that's yeah, there you go. There we go. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. Perfect. Okay. It's going to be a bit awkward to see, but hopefully we can see. So this is what's known as a blend space, and there's a couple of different types of blend spaces. And what this does is this lets you blend animations together. We don't unfortunately have any that we can use, so we're going to have to build some. At least for the start animations. Now, the way this works, if you hold down Shift and move your mouse all over this box, you can see that the animations change.
Oh yeah, she's leaning around.
Yep, so the up and down axis, so from top to bottom, that covers the angle. So if you imagine that when you go to the top, you're running uphill, and when you go down to the bottom, you're running downhill. You can see how her weight shifts on her feet from forward to back. So she's still running forward, so she's running forward the whole time here. Left and right are the leans, so you can see how she leans to the side for it. So what this blend space does is basically takes what's it got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but it's actually not 9. It's like 6 or something. 6 different animations, and it pulls them all together into like a set of animations. So this is like a blend space. So what we can do is we can use something like this to control our stops. So what we're going to do, Mongoose, is we need to close this window, and we need to close, or we can, yeah, we'll just close this, and then close the anim blueprint. We're very quickly going to go make a blend space. Okay, so we need to go make our own blend space. If you go into the animations folder, because we are about to make an animation. And then there's a folder called blend spaces. I think it's the second folder on the left. There we go. I'm going to blend spaces. Okay, so here we have, what do we have? Okay, go into jog combat 1D for a second. I think we can use that. We can't use it now, but we can use it later. There we go. And then do your shift thing and move back and forth. Oh no, this is what is this?
Oh.
Okay, so we're back. And I was gonna say, I said to Mongoose, like, in the cut, like, if your Unreal Engine editor does crash, it's fine. It's perfectly normal. Save regularly, save frequently. If you've done a lot of work in your project and you want to go make changes, take backups, go into your folders, do all that. But if it crashes, don't worry. You probably didn't do something wrong. If you actually go back into animations, Mongoose, Go back into your animations and go back into blend spaces. Oh, yeah, still it's working this tight. I know it's working this screen so everyone can see. Doesn't make it easy. This is pretty much what all the Unreal live streams look like. Go back in. So that jog combat 1D, do not go back into it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Close it. It's fine. You can open it and do it. Actually, if you double click it, double click it, expand it, but then don't do anything else. Expand it out, and hopefully this doesn't. So yeah. So the reason this crashes, do you see those red markers on that line? Don't go anywhere near them. Just look. No, right. Those red markers are missing animation assets. So it's sort of telling you that there's a problem with those animations.
Okay.
I don't know what. I have to go and dig, but that's why it crashed.
I feel like I'm on a minefield right now.
So yeah, so I just close that. Just go up and just close that, and then just don't use that one. Okay, so we're going to create our own blend space to handle start animation. So if you right click, okay, so we're going to create our own blend space to handle start animation. So if you right click and go to animation, and then we have two blend spaces on the right. We have, actually there's a bunch of different stuff here. We have blend space and we have blend space 1D. Blend space 1D lets you control things in one dimension. So like one number, one axis. Blend space is also known as a blend space 2D. So you can go like up, down, and left and right. So the ones we looked at before were blend space 2D. We're actually going to use a blend space 1D for the next section. So if you want to click on that, and then choose the yin skeleton. And then we're going to call this jog start. BS. Oh, no spaces yet. Jog start. BS. Right? And I hit return. And like whatever your naming convention is, I like naming everything like our blend spaces jog start BS. You'll see that these look very similar to the other animation assets. So I like putting like either start like blend space jog start or jog start BS, like whatever your naming convention is, just so you know what it is. And then if you double click on it, Mongoose, we will go in and we will see an empty blend space. So at the moment, we don't really have anything in here. We don't have any animations. We don't have anything running. So we're going to have to add our own animations. So if you want to expand this window so we can see everything in there, we're missing some stuff. And then if you go at the top, go to Window, and go to Details. Third one, there we go. That should pop up on the left. Oh, no, it's there. We want to go back to Window. Asset Details, maybe? I don't know. I never have to open this window. It's always open for me. There we go. That's it. Right. Okay, so on the left, we have Axis Settings. It's the second option down. So if you click the little arrow next to horizontal, that actually says horizontal axis. So this is where we basically set all the directions that we're going. So what we're going to do is we're going to call the name, we're going to call it direction.
Where at?
Name, so that the first, where it says none, change that to direction. Okay. The minimum, so the next box down, we're going to set that to at negative 180. And then maximum, we're going to set to positive 180. Sure. We're going to leave everything else as it is, so that's just the number of points and all that. So now, what this bar at the bottom does, you'll see that we have negative 180 on the left, and we have positive 180 on the right. So what we can do is, based on the direction we're moving, we can actually tell the blend space to play a different animation, based on the direction we're moving. So if we go to filters on the right where it says asset browser, we need to basically pull in some of the animations, just like we did before when we were in the animation blueprint itself. So if you type start, that should filter down. Okay, so the four that we need are the ones at the top. So if you drag the forward blend space, drag that into the middle point there. Okay. So that now means, and you can either drag a little green thing or you can hold shift, and that'll move the animation around. But what this means is that if we're going in a direction of 0, we're going to play the forward blend space, and 0 is like forward in Unreal. And next we're going to drag the left blend space. We're going to drag that to the next line to the left. So if you see the lines going down, that's the one there. That's it. So that's -90. And again, if you hold shift, you can then see the direction. And then we're going to put right on the other one. So that should be +90. And then we're going to drag the backwards one. We're going to drag that to both -180 and -180 and +180. So now the way this will work is you see her direction changes based on the direction. So what we can do is, depending on the direction we're moving, we can basically control the way that we're going to move. So if we're going left, we want to use the left one. If we're going right, we want to use the right one. So we are done with this mongoose. You can hit save and close this bad boy down, and we'll move back on to getting this hooked up.
Okay.
We're almost there. Boop. Okay, so next we're going to go back into, we're going to go up 2 levels. So we're going to go from blend spaces to animations to yin. And then we're going to go back into the animation blueprint.
Right here?
Mm-hmm. There we go. And then we're going to go to the oh, actually, where are we? Okay, we're in, if you click on ground locomotion at the top, we're already kind of halfway in. Okay, so idle's done. We're now going to go into jog start. So if we double click on jog start. So at the moment, it only has a single animation asset hooked up, which is play the jog forward start animation. So regardless of the direction, it's always going to play that. You want to click that animation and delete it. So just click on the red and blah. Blah, there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go find, in the assets, we're going to go find our new jog start BS. There we go. And then we're going to drag that out. And just in a similar way, it looks similar, but you'll notice now that because we set that axis up, we now have a direction pin. And what we can do a couple of things. So if you were like, first thing I would do is hook up the 2 men. Sounded odd, but yeah. Hook up the 2 men, and then this now means that when we move, it's going to pull from this blend space instead of just the animation. However, regardless of what we do now, it's still always going to play forward because the direction has been set to 0.
Okay.
But what we can do, and this is where the event graph, so that first thing that came in, if you quickly jump into event graph, on the left under graphs, go into event graph, double click it. Now in here, if you'll have a look around, and this is the bit where I'm not sure, I've not used the yin character blueprint before. In here, do we have a direction? Scroll in a bit so I can see. I don't know if it's in here. This might end up being a 3-parter. God damn it, Epic! Like, so no, it'll be further down. It'll be in that big long messy chain. So here, what we're looking for is a thing that says direction. In fact, if you go to the left mongoose, where you've got the variables down the very bottom left, if you scroll that bar down to the bottom. God damn it, Epic. Okay, so the problem that we have at the moment, mongoose, is that we do not have any way of controlling our direction. So at the moment, we can go in different directions, but we don't actually have any way of telling the character how to do that.
Okay.
So what we'll do, because I know this segment's getting a little bit long, is we'll just go and test and make sure that our blend space works. And then next time what we can do is we can fix the direction thing, and we'll also fix the stop direction so we can do stop animations. So compile and save this for the time being. And then if you go back into the anim graph.
I'll close this one up.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, on the left, the graphs, go to anim graph.
Yeah, my bad.
No, it's fine, don't worry. I still get lost when I'm going through these. And then if you go into the top box for ground locomotion, yep, one at the top. Just double click on the ground locomotion state machine. The black box. There you go. Just double click it. There we go. And we go back into jog start.
Double click.
Yep. Okay, so this is good to go. It just we don't have any way of telling it direction. So what we're going to do is in the direction box, if you can type in 90. Okay, and then hit compile and save. Okay, and then close the window. And then, okay, hit play. Now, hit play, but don't move. Okay. And you can make your window a little bit bigger if you want to do it. Okay, now, so, the way that we know this is going to work is when you start moving, your legs are going to look strange.
Okay.
And I think that if you move to the right, it should look normal.
So maybe try and move to the right?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. It's either going to look right or it's going to be backwards.
It's not letting me move. Oh, there we go.
Oh. So do you see there?
Okay. she started to.
So it works, right? But it looks awful, right? And the reason is that before she was always running forward.
Right.
And now she's always running to the right. So no matter what direction you start running, you're always going right. However, that is like what we wanted. We set it to 90 instead of 0, so that's to the right. So your yin now, when she starts running to the right. So that's kind of what we wanted. But I'm going to suggest next time, Mongoose, what we'll do is we'll fix this so that she can run in the right direction. And we'll also look at setting up our stop direction as well, so that we can do that. We'll do that next time, if that sounds good.
Sounds good to me, dude.
All right, see you guys, and see you, Mongoose, next time.
All right, see you next week. And that was actually the last time we did Tech Time. Ruba got picked up by Omega Studios, the Workle predecessor, and I didn't want to bug him for my little show. Hope you guys learned a little bit from this compilation. For now, this is the Man Goose signing off. You guys have a good one. Man Goose.